All right. Well, once again, thank you so much for joining our technical council meeting. Today is July 13th. Um, today's session is dedicated to standards. And one of the things that I was hoping that we can discuss today is do a little bit of quick summary of where we're at. We've had a number of workshops, um, specifically centered around three standards: URI resolution, invocation standard, and data translation standard. Wanted to kind of go through a little bit and talk about the process. Maybe even start with that. But let's maybe just get a quick update on where we're at on those three standards and see how much time do you think we need to complete, and then we can talk about the process, because I think one of the concerns that I would like to raise is that we're not not that we're not following the process. I think we are following the process that we set out originally, but we, I think, assumed in the beginning, earlier on, that we are going to have two, maybe three workshops per standard that we're going to need. And we sort of scheduled our cadence and planned our cadence around that. I did a little bit of summarization before the meeting. And I think that one of the things that becoming quite clear is that the workshops that we're running per standards are a lot more numerous than that. We are up to a fifth belief on the URI resolution, and the invocation standard has been going on for a few months now, on and off for different meetings. So one of the things that I was hoping we can discuss today is to get a better understanding of what our workshop strategy is. We're expecting that we're going to be having, 5 or 6 workshops for standards, or maybe we need to adjust our workshops so we can complete those either faster or have other workflows to prepare for them. Let's discuss this topic to make sure that we're all aligned in terms of what our targets for the number of workshops and how many standards can we realistically close with that kind of velocity within a given period, like a month, for example. You guys have any thoughts on anybody would like to maybe comment on this point?
I think, at least for the URI resolution standard, the biggest thing was during writing of the standard, we found a bunch of things that we wanted to change the way it currently works in code. So we ended up doing that as part of the workshop or as part of the workshops. So I think in order to be more effective on these workshops, we could or we should have an ability to maybe pause a certain standard until the feature gets fully developed.
Yes, I understand. So I think that's a good point. So if we work, so I think what I just heard was, let me just maybe reiterate that we certainly may run into situations where we started working on a particular standard, and as part of that effort, we've determined that it's not, this component is just not ready for standardization. It still needs to be developed, and or more development needs to be added to that feature. And at that point, instead of trying to complete that as part of the workshop, which is what I think what we've been trying to do with, for example, URI standard, maybe it's best to put it on hold, convert it to a feature work. But then if it's a feature, it just becomes a different workshop, right? Or is it a different effort sort of as part of the product development or toolchain development, right? Because it doesn't make sense to just transition from one workshop to another, right? Okay, so it's not a standard workshop, it's a feature workshop, but we still have to do it as part of this cadence, right? Which is still implies meeting once a week over the next 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, and so on and so forth. And in the meantime, we're that standard completion is blocked.
Yeah, I don't think it. I mean, it might be necessary to transition it to a feature workshop, but I don't think that's where the main work on it would happen. It should happen async as part of just development. So creating the PR with all of the new improvements and discussing the solution async on that PR, and after that PR gets merged, or even during that PR, if there's anything either controversial or just not clear on how it should proceed, then we can include it in the feature workshop until we polish it and merge it, and then we can standardize. Because honestly, I'm more and more solidified in my thinking that the standards should really follow features or just general development. You know.
Right. Okay, so maybe why
And
don't
and
yeah, go ahead.
sorry, yeah, I was just gonna say that as an additional thought, I don't think um that the speed or the number of sessions that we spend on a particular standard um is necessarily a good measure of the effectiveness of the sessions, because um, at this stage of development, like important parts of the code change very dramatically in in days. So I can see why in the URI resolvers standard, for example, like that went through so many changes, like week by week. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with Nestor. The number of workshops isn't a measure of how slow it's or how productive the workshops themselves are. Just the thing I noticed with your resolution, I think if I spent time in async working on it solo, I could have gotten it to a point where we could have had more productive workshops. So some of the things that we came up with on workshops, I could have handled it on my own, and some others we would get to it on the workshops themselves.
Hmm. Hmm. No,
So
understood.
at least that was the case with your resolution specifically. But yeah, so both things are true. It's not like it's a measurement of how good or how productive a workshop is, but there's also a lot of work that could be done async by a single person or a pair programming workshop or something.
Understood. But then you need to obviously allocate that time, right? And I would hate to, the goal was to not to take away time away from your sort of core focus on building the product and focused on getting the release out and, just and work on the standards during the workshops. And the idea was initially is that the workshops, um, you know, 2, 3 workshops should be sufficient to produce standards, but it sounds like it's not really for some standards, that's probably true, but the ones that are sort of in the state of flux, we need to make a decision around those, whether that we actually continue working on those, put it on hold, or work on those asynchronously, so the more progress will be done. Is that a right way of thinking about it?
I think that um, I think that what Jure is saying in a way is kind of special in the sense that the URI resolver standard was a standard that we were developing in our sessions, but it was also like a very uh, core part of the refactors and changes for the alpha. So uh, if we take for example the data translation standard is something that changed very little or probably nothing over the course of the alpha release after discussing it in the standard sessions. So I wouldn't worry. Uh, I wouldn't worry too much about uh, not wanting to take too much time uh, out of our core work, let's say, to use it for standards. Because I think that in many standards, like the URI resolvers one, for example, uh, like thinking about solving the problems that arise is also like an integral part of the core work. I don't know if that made sense at all, but
Okay.
the
Well, what?
TL
Mhm.
the TLDR is that it wouldn't worry too much. Yeah.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
right. So
and
what?
Yeah,
Go ahead, please. Please go on.
I would also would like to add that yeah, I think that actually these technical yeah, like talks councils are actually like making us improve like what our code base is, right? So I would actually would think like it's it has been like really productive, let's say, because we're like more clarifying more things. For example, in the evocation standard, that's on me. I need to coordinate with Nesser because in that talk, in that workshop, like a lot of things came up with environment. So yeah, that's on me. But yeah, the TLDR is that I think that actually these workshops, I understand that like yeah, you think that it would make sense to not waste too much time on workshops, but I think that yeah, actually they're really like helpful to us, and yeah, I think they're working like helping us to like improving the core tool chain and making it more robust, if that makes sense.
Okay. All right. So why don't we do
yeah.
this?
I think sorry.
Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. Let's go
I think
get everyone's feedback.
so far we haven't been using the sessions or the workshops really as standardizing the things that we created, but more as both standardizing and developing or improving the current code base and the architecture. So, and I think that's fine. It could be a part of the features workshop, but it could be a part of the technical standards workshop.
Yeah.
I think both is okay.
All right, so let's here's what I propose we do today because we don't have a very explicit agenda, and what I would say is let's go through each standard that we currently kind of in progress that we're working on, and maybe talk a little bit about the plan um, um, in terms of just a little bit of terms of how many workshops do we think we need to have. Or do we need to have sort of the asynchronous workshops or effort for those. So maybe why don't we just go ahead and start with our REORI resolution, just talk a little bit where are we currently at with that standard, what do we think the next steps are, and how do we best organize them in terms of workshops or asynchronous work. Um, so maybe Yuri, do you want to maybe comment on that? What do you think?
Yeah. So at the bottom there, I think we highlighted next steps last time. Not sure what method in the renaming was, maybe try resolve or something, and then describing how that function uses the built-in one or the core one. So I think this could be completed in a single workshop, but I would like to implement this in code before that. So we could schedule a workshop for not this Friday, but next Friday, and I'll try to get the PR ready and merged by then.
All right, so that sounds great. So let's do this. Let me change the structure of the sort of the footer section, which kind of describes our process. What I would like to do is maybe in right within the standards, so because I think that's just the easier way to kind of handle this so everybody can see it. Dedicate the bottom section to, and I'll, starting from here, to have another section just called um, standard uh, implementation process or standard process. And this is where we'll have these sections here with the, we have initial feedback and things. So I think that, so when we say next steps, right? Just kind of a plan here. I'll reorganize this. I don't think we need this section right now. Um, and I'll keep that in there, different structure here, different color. Let's make it yellow. Hmm. All right, so what we said is first, we want to Jury. Make sure I spell your name correctly.
Jure.
Yari. Yep. Um, so let me just. So let me just say. So basically, what I want to say is that you said you're gonna work offline on this, right?
Yeah,
So asynchronous
on the
after.
actual code to see if it makes sense. Yeah.
So maybe just let me just work out. So what are you gonna play? What do you want to specifically work on and do on this one? You want to actually implement the code changes, right?
Yeah, the ones we already have in the standard. Yeah.
So you will work on that, and then after that, we will schedule a workshop, standard workshop on, and you said you want it to be the following week, right? Um,
Yeah, I think that's enough time.
so that would be for the next one, and this is for our resolution, right? So we can move that to the 22nd, right?
Correct.
Be July. Okay, so that's scheduled. So that's our plan for this, and this is a comment for you here, basically. Does that sound does this look good? So I'm just kind of just kind of thinking like that's the structure. All right, so
Yeah,
that's,
yeah. Awesome.
and do you think that this is going to be a final workshop? Or do you think we're going to need additional workshop after that?
Judging by how currently things stand, I think it's the final one, but you never know.
Or let's say estimated, because estimated means they can change. Estimated to be a final workshop. Okay. Okay. So that's good for the excuse me, for a URI resolution. That's the plan. Um, let's talk about invocation standard.
Yeah, I can. I just read it, and I think that yeah, I would like to suggest that tomorrow I can do like a meeting asynchronously with Nestor. I will need his help on this because he implemented the new environment, like yeah, logic. Let's say how things work in invocation. And also, now that I'm thinking, we also have like these two new terms which are invoker and invoked, if I recall correctly. So yeah, this is really really attached to data serialization. But yeah, we will need to also talk about that. So yeah, what I would suggest is that basically tomorrow I do an asynchronous, yeah, like a pair programming, sorry, call with Nestor to tackle this, and on Friday we can have a feedback, which I hope it's a
Workshop. Yeah.
final, but I would really doubt that. But yeah, does that make sense to you?
Yep. Let me just write it all up. So first of all, we do async. Um, um, uh,
Workshop, let's say.
so I
Yeah,
don't want to call it a
or
workshop. So it's not going to be sort of like an official workshop, but it's just you and Nestor, right? Caesar and
yeah,
Nestor. Just make sure I got Nestor's handle correctly.
should be Namesti. Yeah.
Namaste. Will work a week off, and this is this week, right? So let's call it the week of
Yes.
July 18th. Um, on updating any particular sections that you're going to be focused on. Do you want me to kind of just work on the standard, or just say that
Uh, yeah, I would say, how would you call it, Nestor? Like environment in models, or in, yeah, how would that be exactly be worded?
Uh,
Worded.
environment configuration, I think it would be the name.
set environment configuration?
Yep. Yeah, I think that's a good
And
name.
yeah, and also I would add invoker and invoked. Like yeah, defining those new terms. Would be invoker as invocation, if that makes sense.
Oh, sorry.
No
I
worries.
think it's invoker and invocable.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but yeah, I think that that will suffice for us to.
Yeah, yeah, that doesn't matter so much. You only need like a reminder.
Oh. Yes. Work and woke. Well, you guys can obviously update it. So those are the, and then you said then we want to schedule a follow-up, schedule workshop, follow-up workshop on. So you said this week, right? So that would be on the 15th, and we want to pull that
That's
invocation.
at what time is the workshop on Friday?
It's up to you. We can do it 10 a.m. Central, if that works for you.
Let me check the time.
I send you invitation, so and then make sure. Let me just
Let me open the calendar.
and
Okay,
Nestor. We want to add Nestor.
5 p.m. for me. Yeah, that works. That works. Fresh.
So that's the 15, July 15. Um, may need one more additional workshop. Is that what you said after that?
Yes.
Fantastic.
I like the word may. Haha.
Okay, I think we have a to-do list here, right?
Yep. And sorry for not pushing this before, to be honest. That's on me. I will take responsibility on that.
No problem. This is great. All right, so I think we have a plan for this, and let's discuss finally the data translation standard. So we had 3 workshops on that. Well, actually, I think that July 17th did not happen, right? A workshop. We didn't get a chance to talk about it last week. Um,
Yeah, correct.
so let's take that out. So what do we want? So let's talk about what's left here. How many do you think workshops are remaining for the data translation? And when do we want to work asynchronously on this or schedule a workshop for this Friday?
What do you think, Nestor?
Yeah, I'm fine with either.
So let's maybe schedule a workshop, or let's schedule a workshop. I guess my question is this: do we want to do any work asynchronously on this, or do we want to just meet on Friday to do the work on it during the workshop?
I think we can just meet on Friday.
Agreed. For that particular one, I'd rather just meet and finish the draft.
All right, so let's take a look. So if we have invocation standard at 10 a.m. On Friday on the 15th, and then data, let me see if there's any over. So we have Nestor who is an overlap for this. So do we want to do it 11 then and 1 hour later? So Nestor, you can be on both the invocation standard and
And
the
then I can
data translation
switch
standard.
channels. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so I'm gonna send that out too. And then do we think that this is gonna be on the 15th workshop on July 15th? Do we think that we need another workshop after that, or do you think this may be a final workshop? Or do we think we need more than one after that?
I'd say roughly that we can probably get this done in a single next session. I don't think there is much to talk about left. I don't know if you, Jure and Niraj, you guys agree with me, but that's what I think.
Yeah, probably. I'm not too sure, so could be one, could be two. But yeah, most likely one is enough.
Okay. No, this is great. So there is a good chance that by the end of this week, we can hopefully finalize, maybe need another workshop, but maybe we can finish up the invocation standard. And then we will maybe be able to finish up the data translation standard. And then the following week, you're going to work this week and partly next week on the URI resolution, and then we're going to have another workshop on the 22nd, hopefully the last workshop that we'll need before we're ready for acceptance.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Okay. So my next question then is, what is the standard that we'd like to start working on next? So we can ask that question during the next project, during the next meeting. But assuming that we actually get through the plan that we have, we'll probably need to line up the next standard to work on next. Let me just look at the priorities. This one's accepted. You are critical. I'm just looking at the critical. So invocation standard is the one we're working on right now. Then we have WebAssembly critical. Data translation working on right now. Rep client standard and URI resolution resolver extension are the other critical standards that we've identified so far. Do you have a preference on which one we want to work on next after that?
So after the URI resolution, we can immediately start on the resolver extension. But other than that, I'm not sure for the others what's the priority. Like if we get invocation and data translation done this week, I'm not sure what we would work on next week.
Yeah, so I think it sounds like a good next step is to work on your resolution resolver and pick that up. Once, it sounds like it's a good transition from URI resolution to that. And then if we complete if we complete invocation standard and data translation standard, maybe we can replace those two with, let's say, WebAssembly run. Well, you tell me what you think is the among the critical ones, which ones we want to work. We have WebAssembly, wrap client, WebAssembly wrap client. Maybe we can start on WebAssembly.
And is it plugins too? Or did I see it wrong?
Did I miss it? Let me see. Critical.
Oh no, that's high. Okay.
They're high.
Yeah, we could do WebAssembly maybe.
WebAssembly runtime.
I'm not sure. Like Nestor, any thoughts? You're on tagged on the WebAssembly one, so and on the client.
Um,
Um, on the WebAssembly runtime, who do we want the owners to be?
I'd like to be one of those, but I think I am one already. But
So we had Nestor, we have Jordan. Anybody else who wants to be participating, or I should say, owners,
I can also help.
workshop members. Caesar, was that?
Yeah, I can help. Neeraj.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Niraj. Still getting used to everyone's voices. My apologies. Yuri, do you?
I mean, I would love to work on this, but I have the resolver extension one, so we could do those in parallel.
Sure.
If they're not in parallel, then yeah, I'd like to be a part of this.
No, I think that's a good idea. To try to run this in parallel. So I think Jordan, Nestor, and Niraj is a good quorum, or do we want to add more folks? We said at least 2 people, which we do have, even if Jordan is not available. But with Niraj and Nestor, that can be a good focus.
yeah, for sure.
Okay, so I'll get that lined up as well and get ready for we can set up the um, probably for the next, unless we're gonna work. Well, actually, the next one is for features, but we'll figure it out. I'll figure out the timing for the next for the WebAssembly right there. Okay, I think that's actually covers all of the agenda items that I had in terms of planning, getting ready for the next set of sessions. We don't have anything to review and ready for acceptance internally, so we don't have anything lined up for that for today. Um, I'm, ready. If you have any topics or any questions that you'd like to discuss, let's bring them up now. Otherwise, we can cut it 15 minutes short today and get ready for the next set of workshops.
I think that's a wrap.
That's a wrap then. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.